Here's my oil palette. I've just removed it from the area that I normally mix, which is normally just to my right here. But of course, I want to show how you can transfer or move from acrylics, or get the most out of your acrylics is what I love to think, and then transition into your oils. So I've got rid of this guy, so I'll just put that there. Now I've got just a very basic little palette here. It's really just the red, yellow, blue, but I do love my green, so because I do love rags as well. And with this, I'm using synthetic brushes, not hog hair. I find hog hair, which is this type, as soon as you put it into water, it goes sort of like crazy hair. It goes twisted, but you can see that it's like a chisel. That's what we want a good hog hair brush, or most of our brushes to be, is a chisel. So I'll keep that for the oils. So I've got an acrylic brush here, got my other stiff synthetic here. So what we shall do, I've got my subject there. So let's just grab a little bit of the ultramarine blue, and I've just got really the back of an old board. It's just melamine. So what I've got is just a little bit of blue and red. So then we can start to draw in my shapes, so I know where and what I'm doing in regards to this composition. So let's just get some of these big shapes. And the great thing is, this is starting to build the painting up. That's what gets missed so often. So I've done my, hopefully you've watched the preparation board. So we've prepared the board. I've started building things up from there. Now I come in for another layer. And this does actually feel a little bit more like watercolor than acrylic, or oil painting I should say, but that's perfectly fine. What we're wanting to do is to then start to just build these shapes up. So now I'll start to bring in some of the green. So we're working from the background towards us. So we're getting depth and distance. Let's just grab a little bit of white and put this guy in here so we get a little bit more bounce, maybe even a little bit of the, it's a little porous, the board, so that's always something to take into account as well. But I quite often have students with acrylics in my classes, and it's always a bit of a battle, sort of just translating some things. And that's why I say, why are we working in acrylics? It is a beautiful medium, but it is actually harder than oils. So you can start to see I've got my building shape. We're starting to build back into the background. Let's get a nice little peak up going up there. And we want another big shape coming in here. There's some silos there. Let's put a big shape in here. Another big shape there. We'll block that through there. But we can now start to see how I've built that up from the ground up. So what I'll do, I'll work this up further, and then we'll work into our oils. So we'll use this as that layering technique. And actually this is a marvelous thing that you can do plein air as well. We can do our plein air study where we can get a lot of information down and then refine it back in the studio. And I think that's what I love the most. So let's see how I go. Okay, that's the blocking done. I'm really happy with the information that I've got. I've got my subject here, and the main part I find with the acrylic blocking is getting the darks in. That's one of the hardest things with oil paint. And I find by starting with these lovely darks, we're about 75% of the way there. But where this idea, I think, really does help my work is for the bigger work and also the more technically difficult work, because that's when our technique, our idea, because I like to think of the acrylic blocking as a warm-up, as a dress rehearsal, for me personally being an oil painter. So that's a value add, I believe. So it's really powerful stuff. So I think I'll get stuck into the rest of it. So here we go. Grab a little bit of my medium there. I always love to get some medium into the brush so that I know that it's going to start to give me that effect that I want. So let's start to, so this is nice and dry, and then we can then start to go over him. But let me actually start in that background. I think that's probably the ideal spot to start. So let's look for some of these darks. Just need a little bit more of the yellow. Just remember, there's no pure colour in a landscape or a painting. It's all about greys. So I've used blue and red, then with a little bit of yellow, just to grey this guy off so you can see how the initial mark was way too blue. But that's okay. Better to be too powerful than not powerful enough. So you can see how I'm able to use that underpainting as a guide, as a way to educate where I'm going next. We're going to bring more green into here, but I really want to first really push this narrative as far as possible, because this is probably the trickiest part of this painting. It's the Piedmont area where the mountain will start and where it hits the horizontal plane. So let's actually bring that shape through, and then we start to get that up there. We don't want to shape down here, so I'll just put a little bit of dark just into there as well. So I think we're about to start to be able to get the big brushes out and really start to move on with this idea. So with the mountain being so big, so important visually, let's start to get some of that into place. And it is in quite a bit of a shadow, so don't be afraid to go a little darker, and I think that's what the acrylics will help encourage you to see, that, you know what, that's the darkness, that's the value contrast that I do actually need. But we don't have to worry about muddying, greying, dirtying our colours. So you can see this lovely big dark here. That's around about the right colour, but it's only an acrylic. And the one downside I find with acrylics is that we just don't get that texturization that we can with oil paint, especially with the hog hair brush. You can see how that lovely texture, that brush mark. And I think that's the hidden art in painting, is our brush mark. Okay, I think I've pushed that as far as I can in this session. Sometimes it's good to work for about 2, sometimes 3 hours, depending on the day, but then have a little rest. Not so much physically, but more for the eyes, just to reset the eyes and get a bit of a clean and new, refreshed look on the work that I've done. Even though they've really made acrylic paint a lot more like oil paint, but there's still quite a difference. And I think it's that texturization that we can, and that texture we can get with oil paint. I think that's the final frontier. And that's why I continue to use oils, but I do love using the acrylics as a device to build up painting, build up ideas as well. So hope you enjoyed that. All the best. Bye for now.